All right, so last stages of this is hosting and deployment. So at this point in our code, we should have our authentication working, so our dashboard's protected. We'll have a little pop-up window. You can sign in with your email, your Google, and I'm not sure why it does that twice, but that's okay. And so then you can go to your dashboard, and everything's groovy. You got that all there. Um, and from here, we're going to go to netlify.com. You're going to sign up. I'm going to log in personally. Um, they'll have you log in with your GitHub. Is probably the easiest way to do that. You can do that with a couple different things you could do there. I think you can use your email too if you want to. Um, but so we got this. That's cool. And then you should eventually, once you've created an account, you should have this app.netlify page here. If you need more help finding that, let us know, but it should be pretty straightforward. Um, then you're here and you can create an app. So again, if you're at this page, you can go to sites. You can add a new site. I already have a couple of them. These are some of my old ones that I've done. And we're going to deploy manually. There's a couple of different ways we can do this, but we're going to deploy manually. We're actually going to, you'll have to get your Finder out. But what we're going to do is we're going to find our project on our computer. We're going to find that dist folder. So again, what we should be doing, actually I may not have walked through that with you yet, so we're actually going to go back to our code. Yeah, so again, our app works fine, wrong thing. App works fine, everything's here. You will want to ensure that your API key is actually inside the Firebase config, just throwing that in there, make sure that's the actual one here. I know earlier I had been showing the, or maybe not, maybe this was a different video, process.env.api key kind of a thing. And right now it's mad about this. Yeah, okay, but whatever. So the point is that's how you would get stuff from a .env file. So earlier I had been messing around with this one. But what we need to do is we need to actually have access to this in our config. So we're going to leave that string in there for now. And you can see that SonarLint is saying, hey, this is maybe a bad idea. But I'm not pushing this to GitHub, so it won't actually matter. I'm not super concerned about that right now. But if you do not have, this stuff doesn't matter. Don't worry about the GitHub workflows or Firebase or any of that stuff. But the dist folder is what we're actually looking for here. Also, if these don't exist yet, don't worry about those. That was a Firebase thing. I did try and host with Firebase, and I found it to be fairly difficult and fairly obnoxious. And so I'm not doing that way right now. Netlify has consistently been super easy for me to use, so I'm actually a huge fan of it. I'm going to kill the server. And then I'm going to kill the tab so that it stops trying to pull. All right, so you got that. Cool, groovy. But what I'm going to do now is I am going to run npm run build. And you may recall I pointed this out in our package.json at the beginning of this. We have a couple of different scripts here. And so this npm run build will, so TSC is TypeScript compiler. And again, this is specifically going to say, hey, TypeScript, I want you to break all of the TypeScript down into JavaScript. And when we run npm run dev, you'll notice that actually happens in the background somewhere. It's mad about stuff there. That's fine. Scroll it past that. Stop being so mad. Yeah. So, oh, that's for build. Let's see, npm run dev. So somewhere in there, it should actually end up being compiling. In this case, it's running Vite, and that's a little bit different too. But point is, we need to break this down into all of the JavaScript, CSS, and HTML that we would actually need to run it on the web, because again, our virtual DOM, wherever that went, all this stuff, none of it. Oops. None of this is real, right? And so this is just how we organize it for our purposes, but in real life, this needs to be made into an actual DOM rather than this virtual DOM. And so that's what we're doing here. And so we're going to run that npm run build. It should take a second or two. Kind of depends a little bit on how much juice your computer has. I just did this, so a lot of it's cached. So usually when you do complex processes like this, when you're doing it repeatedly, your computer will like remember how those files work. And so it didn't even have to break down either of these. It just left them as they are. And it all it did is make the mountains image and the JavaScript it redid. And so it says some chunks are a little bit big. That's okay. It means that there's going to be parts of our website that are running a little bit slow, like, for example, our images. But that's fine. We're not going to get into how to make that move super fast today. And then, yeah, so that should be fine. There's some other stuff too with like what they're talking about here. So as far as code splitting, if you have a lot of content at once, like when our page loads, all of the JavaScript that goes with our entire website loads all at once. So our initial load will be a little bit slow. After that first load, things will go a whole lot faster. There's new tools coming out like Remix, Next.js, Nuxt for Vue. That won't work with React, but Nuxt for Vue, Astro, Quick. There's a bunch of these other frameworks that are coming out that help deal with this problem. Server-side rendering, static site generation, blah, blah, blah. Brandon, you're talking about things we don't understand. You're scaring us. Yeah, I know. It's okay. I forgot I did this too. But yeah, so those are all things that if you wanted to look into them down the road would be cool technologies to learn. Might not make you super employable, all of them. Next probably will. The other ones not as much. But they are really cool things to mess around with and cool things to learn. And they will make you better at React. Anyways, I digress. So now we've made this build, and we have this this dist folder right here. And that's groovy. What we're going to do is we're going to go back to Netlify. And again, I went to, I think I showed you how to do this. So you go to Sites, Add New Site, Deploy Manually, and that'll take you to this page. And what you're going to do is you're going to take that dist folder from our project folder, and we're just going to drag and drop. And that should work out. And this really works extremely quickly. So this actually has already happened. And because it doesn't have to build or do anything else, it's just some HTML and CSS. And you're like, wow, this website's super cool. Great, it works. You click on this, and this pops up, and then it disappears. And it did not successfully log in. So you might be asking, why can't I go? I can't go to the dashboard. And you get very upset. Well, again, what are we going to do when we have a bug that we can't see? Well, that's why we have the console, right? So the console will probably tell us at least something if there's an error. And so we're going to go here, and sure enough, so the server responded with a status of 404. And again, we can check what is a 404 error. What does that mean? Client-side issue indicating the requested URL can't be found on the server. So domain is not pointed correctly, some other stuff. So we're like, okay, so what we've basically tried to do is we've tried to request something that's either not allowed or doesn't exist, right? 404 not found. And so we keep reading our errors. Again, this is just some weird thing that my computer's doing. Don't worry about that one. We got an uncaught Firebase error. Firebase error, unauthorized domain. Okay, so this is somewhere in our authentication. Again, this is just how to read errors. It's somewhere in our authentication, and there's an unauthorized domain somewhere that we're trying to access, right? And it specifically has to do with Firebase. And so we know that, so we're already getting a bit of an idea of what's going on here. It says info, the current domain is not authorized for OAuth operations. And again, OAuth, just the fact that it has auth in it should give you a clue of what's going on, right? There's something with our authentication where we are not permitted to access our authentication from the current domain, right? That's basically what's happening here. And so this will prevent sign in with pop-up, sign in with redirect, link with pop-up, and link with redirect. These are all things that well, not all things that we're using, but we're using some of them. We're using sign in with pop-up or sign in with redirect. I don't remember. We're using one of those two from working. Add your domain, add this to the OAuth redirect domains list in the Firebase console, authentication settings, authorized domains tab. Okay, so we're going to come back here. We'll go back to just regular plain old Firebase. We're going to find our project. Right? And I'm not concerned with our build right now. That was something I was messing around with earlier. It didn't work very well, and I didn't like it very much. And so it says it's deployed, but it doesn't actually work. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go to authentication, like the error told us. This is reading our error codes. It really is helpful. And hopefully I've shown you that at this point. But authentication, we're going to go to settings, and we're going to find authorized domains here at the bottom. So we got some interesting things. These ones are premium only. You have to pay for those. User account linking, I don't even know what that is, so I don't care. And then authorized domains is what we're going to look at, right? So we've got these authorized domains. So localhost is allowed to use it. And then the Firebase app, you might not have these because you may not have tried to build. So if it only says localhost, that's fine. But we're going to add domain, and we're going to put this URL. All right, we can put even this in. Copy. Put this in. Whoops. Put it in right here, like that. Unrivaled biscuit. Yours will probably be different, but likely entertaining. You press add, and so now it says, oh, now that's been added. So this is, again, something that's going to be permitted now as an authorized domain. So I can go back here, and refresh the page. It seems pretty groovy. And go to dashboard, and sure enough, we get a pop-up. And now I can click this, and this is actually working the way it's supposed to. But I think the pop-up thing, when I have my screen maxed out, works a little differently. But now I'm signed in, and I go to my dashboard. And that's actually really cool. And now we have our data here, and everything's groovy, and our app works the way that it is supposed to. And the sign out works as well. Always make sure you test both of those before you say that, aha, I've done it. And there you go. So now I can close that. We have this big, beautiful website, and we can pull that data. So that is pretty much it for the React project. Hopefully the Netlify thing works easily for you. If you're having issues with after you do npm run build and it's not working correctly, that means there's something wrong with your code. If the dist folder doesn't, if you don't even get this first page with that, then there's something wrong with your build. But most sites, once you have that dist folder ready to go, you should be able to go from there. GitHub will also allow you to do called GitHub Pages. You would have to basically put the dist folder on your GitHub, but then from there you'd be able to utilize that. Otherwise, you're going to make force GitHub to have to build for you. But GitHub, there's also a way of doing like loading pages, things like that, which is kind of cool. So we have this, that's cool. Entertainingly, if you were to open this on a live server, just to see what it does. This is what our website looks like without React. There's nothing here. There's nothing here. That's like my Grammarly thing to help me spell better, to be a more gooder English speaker. And so it's like, yeah, everything's cool. Yeah, I expected a JavaScript module, but there was nothing here. And it's a problem. So there you go. There's your whole, this is all one div. It's just the div root thing. And that's our site without React. And then I had some issues. I was going to show you this earlier, but like theoretically, you can pull this open and open it with a live server. But I was having some issues with making that work. It was not reading the other. Oh yeah, I was not willing to read the other stuff well, and I was having some other oddball errors again because of React. So it's not too concerned about it. But if you just have just that folder working, then this should work locally on your own. But yeah, easy way to do it. Put it on Netlify. If your builds are failing, then your code is wrong. If I've got my coffee mug's in the way of my bottom right corner of my screen there. Oh, you can't see what I'm doing either. Woo! Yeah, so down here is I'm just turning the live. Oh, you guys missed a whole bunch of this stuff too. Okay, I'm gonna show you. I just realized that all of the commit stuff wasn't working. So when I showed you this, I'm gonna put myself in not as ostentatious of a spot on the screen. When I was showing you this, again, you go to get your control, and you can drop down and see your different commits. Like, what was I doing on this one? You can see what you've added in each commit, right? So I can do my initial commit where I had a whole bunch of stuff that I got added in here, and that's from like before until this commit. And so you can also go up to like a previous one, like this one where we just changed the server a little bit. And you can see the changes that I made from one to the next one. You can also do search and compare at the bottom here. It's the same idea. Search commits. That's other ways of doing stuff. I don't want to do that right now. But you can check the different from commit to commit. And if you click on the little this thing, then you can see if files changed, what did I change on the server calls for this particular commit? Or if I want to go back to a newer one, right? So what did I add on this one? I come down here, and I can click on this. It'll pull it up here. I come down and see, okay, what file got changed? Oh, the Firebase config got changed, and that's because I changed it back from that to this because the dist was not reading this very nicely. And so I went back to just the regular string, etc. So this is just how you can kind of sort out and figure out how that works. I just realized that you probably couldn't see what was going on down here at all. But yeah, it's this little compare with the head, which is what we're currently working with. And so you can compare that to your current code pretty easily, which is pretty neat. Just really good tools and good ways to kind of understand, wait, what did I change yesterday? Wait, who changed what? Especially if you're working with a team of people, that can be really useful. This is, I think, not related to anything. Yes, we're testing. Git lens is another nifty trick too. that I don't use hardly enough, frankly. But GitLens is cool stuff. It helps with tracking your Git stuff. Jupyter Notebook, Docker containers, SQL tools. Those are ones that are custom on my computer. Those don't really matter. Run and debug. That's better for like Java, frankly. And now I'm just gonna clean all these up, close all these out, and that's a project. And now it exists on the internet. Oh no. Please stay where I put you. No. Okay, whatever. Anyways, the video's over. I'm going to have to fix this in a second. And there you go. That's React. So hopefully that worked for you. And good stuff. Go ahead and start working on your capstones. See you there.